From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney Podcast.
The Ear to There Podcast, it's time to start the show. Be sure to hold on tight, here we go. Exploring all the different Disney destinations. Ear to There, it's time to start the fun.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There Disney Podcast. I am your host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney-specialized travel agency. It's my job to take away all that stress, all that anxiety, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a phenomenal time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And I take away all that stress, all that anxiety, and I give you all that time back at no extra cost to you. So I will get you the best possible price on your Disney vacation. I will book your fast passes, your dining, your transportation, your special event tickets. Whatever you can come up with, I will take care of it and more. And again, I do all of that absolutely free of charge. Just think of me as the Sebastian to your Ariel. I'll help you out. I'll guide you. I'll keep an eye on you. But I won't go rat you out and tell your dad if you do anything wrong. And that way, I'm not exactly like Sebastian. Okay, you can find this podcast, my blog, or get started planning your next Disney vacation or any other vacation over at my website. That's eartotheretravel.com. Okay, this is episode number 113 for the week of March 5th, 2018. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. And just like I do every week before we get into the episode, it's time for the What About Bob segment of the show. Each and every episode, we ask a different question to Disney legend and retired Imagineer Bob Gurr. I take these questions from you, so you can submit your question by calling the voice line at 267-551-1971, or you can always email me the question at phil@eartotheretravel.com. If you're not quite sure who Bob Gurr is, Bob built things like both monorails in Disneyland and Walt Disney World. He created the Omnimover system, so that includes attractions like the Seas with Nemo and Friends, or previously the Living Seas, the Doom Buggies from the Haunted Mansion. He built the vehicles for the Autopia and for the Indy Speedway. I mean, his list goes on and on and on. So if you have a question for Bob, please send it in to me and I will make sure he gets it. And of course, the What About Bob segment of the show is brought to you by the Waltland Bus Tour. Each month, Bob takes a group of Disney fans around Southern California, with stops in Burbank, in Glendale, and in Los Angeles. He visits all of these important spots in the history of the Disney company and in the life of Walt Disney. And he wants you to go on the next tour. So to get tickets for the Waltland Bus Tour, just head over to www.waltland.com. All right, you've heard me talk enough. You want to hear Bob talk, so here's Bob.
It's What About Bob? Bob Gurr, the legend, creator of the Matterhorn, the monorails in the Haunted Mansion. What about Bob, the Disney legend?
All right, Bob, this question is from John in Central Florida. And John wants to know, how do you assess risk in taking on a new project? And was there ever a time when you had to decline on a project because of the risk involved?
All right, I can only, given my experience, the years that I worked for Disney and then the years that I was president of Gurr Design, in which I really turned down extremely few jobs because it always seemed to be that if something came along that had, number one, has never been done, number two, other people were afraid of it, well, then I was automatically interested in it because I figured, well, I could probably figure it out. Now, the only jobs that I have turned down were some relatively small ones in the 1980s, 1990s, where there were small jobs, and I would inquire as to, who are the other participants in this proposed project. And if there were not A-team members, why, I'd have to make up a little story about, well, I could take your job, but, right in the middle, I'm going to take a lengthy vacation, and that would not be fair to you. And they would get the hint that I don't want to do their job, but I didn't want to, offend them by saying, your thing sucks and it'll never work, which is my private opinion. And one time I did turn down $9 million worth of work for Universal Park, Florida. And this was on the infamous, or the later infamous Jaws job, in which this was with Sequoia Creative, and we had a good relationship with Universal on every kind of project. And they had sent over a massive proposal for all kinds of animated equipment for the Jaws attraction. And just in one afternoon, I looked at everything, looked at all their concept sketches, all their requirements. And the more I looked, they were reaching way too far, way too soon to try to achieve some of these things. And sure, we would have loved to have the work. So the next morning, my phoned Larry Lester up, who was our contact down there. And I said, Larry, we're going to no bid your $9 million worth of work. And the guy just about had a heart attack because he knew we could do the thing. But I just saw there was way too much risk. Now you hop ahead a couple of years. When another company built it all and they installed it all and almost none of it worked, guess who they called to fly down there for a few days and assess what went wrong?
And did you?
Yeah, I went down. I made quite a bit of money down there doing an assay as to what went wrong and how are they going to cure that. And basically after a little while, they closed the show and rebuilt it with yet another company. So the history was that I'm sure glad that I have the ability to smell a rat when it's coming along and be able to say no.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you consulted on Jaws. That's pretty cool.
Well, I've done so much work for so many companies, and everybody thinks I'm Disney only. I've done so many projects. There's about 250 of them in 45 years, and you got to start working your way through all of them.
All right, thank you to Bob for answering yet another question, and thank you to John from Florida for that question. So Bob throws down the gauntlet this week. Next week, he wants non-Disney questions. So if you have a non-Disney question for Bob about something that he worked on outside the company, maybe it's about Jaws or King Kong or Steven Spielberg or the Treasure Island Casino, whatever it is, send it my way and I will ask Bob the next time we talk. All right, now it's time for episode number 113. So joining me to discuss the movies that you need to watch before your Walt Disney World vacation is someone who has nothing but free time lately to watch movies. Lauren Gaglioli, welcome back to the show.
Oh, man, what a liar you are.
Oh, yeah, obviously, you have nothing but, you have so much to do right now. You and your husband, you guys don't know who are listening, are the proud parents of a brand new baby girl who has to keep you crazy busy.
Oh, yes. It's that not being able to anticipate when she's going to have needs right now. Yeah, she's no rhythm at all. So keeps you on your toes.
It does. It does. Yeah. We were saying before we hit record, it's just this completely different kind of, you used to be in control of your life and now you have no control.
I'm like a runaway car. Somebody cut the brakes.
Yeah, you really don't.
We're off and running.
I remember with the first one, you're like, okay, Like, it takes you a little while, but then you start getting into a rhythm. But then when they start doing stuff like rolling over and moving around, then you're done because then you don't know what the heck to do. Like, at least when they're not doing anything, when they're sitting in a seat or you're carrying them, they're not really active. That's easy. But now she's starting to get active.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah,
she's moving and shaking.
Yeah,
so.
now you're in trouble. Now it's like
exactly.
from now until she's like 18, from what I hear.
Yep. Nonstop.
Yeah,
Can't
then
wait.
you kick her out. You get her a job and get her out of your house.
Exactly.
I'm already looking for our oldest to get a job. I'm like, how? Like, really? Can't you go somewhere for a few hours a day and like go? I don't know. McDonald's is right around the corner. Go get something.
I love it. Child labor. Bring it back.
Yeah, man. Why not? All right. So I was wondering, like, this is a neat topic. I think this is really going to be a fun one. But I was trying to figure out which way you were going to go with this because I sat down the other day and I wrote down a list of. I started going one way, right, and then I completely backpedaled and went a different way. Like it's you could take this. I think this idea in a number of different ways. So I'm kind of curious as to how you did it.
So the way I thought about it, I went through the parks and tried to think of like a movie or two that would sort of bring into, okay, this gives me in the spirit of this park. And it was kind of challenging when I did it that way. And I tried to be minimalist. Like, obviously you don't want to have a list of 30 movies that you have to watch before. That's like too much homework before your vacation.
Dude, that's exactly what I did. That's like,
but yeah, I think if you really want to do it upright, at the end of this, you're probably going to have 30 movies.
Yeah, you're going to start sitting down. And
you should go watch.
Yeah, your trip's in a year, and every week you watch another one. I mean,
yeah,
really, we could. There are so many influences for the movies in all the parks and the resorts, and we could probably name 100 and not cover them all.
Well, and that's, I think, the magic of Disney. Like, even, and I found this too. I was like, oh, I wonder if I should watch this movie because I think it would be good. Like, I think when you have an awareness of the body of work that Disney encompasses, and you have an awareness of the story that they build into everything, that it just becomes this thing where, like, even if you just have no, like, know what the plot of a movie is, or know an actor who is in it, it can help inform the experience. So, even if you don't get to everything, I think just our talking through it is going to get people, psyched and in the mood.
Agreed. And it's for me, it was, again, this was neat to look at, okay, what movies can I watch with my kids and kind of get them excited? Like, they're excited anyway. We're going to, I mean, we leave for Walt Disney World in, let me think. Holy cow, is that, wow, 19 days. I didn't realize, that can't be right.
Not that you're counting.
No, I just looked at the calendar and I'm like, that can't be right. But
dude, it's
is.
March.
Yeah. So
how is it March?
I know. So we leave in 19 days. Then we're doing 2 days at Boardwalk, 4 nights on a Disney cruise, and then 2 nights at Polynesian. So that is a pretty sweet setup right there. So I was trying to think of
turning green with envy over here.
Yeah, I'm excited. So they're all ready. They're all excited, and so that's how I kind of looked at it. I was like, all right, well, what movies can we watch between now and then? And my kids are all sick right now, as usual, as I was just telling you. So we have lots of time right now to lay around and watch movies. So that's kind of the way I took it. But all right, Lauren, so you go first since you're the guest, and since I'm really curious to what you're going to start with. So what's your first movie to watch in preparing for your Walt Disney World trip?
So I'm going to do a little twofer. Like, if you were coming to Disneyland, I would tell you to watch Snow White. It's sort of the start of everything. But if you're going to Disney World, I think you got to start with Cinderella. It's the castle. It's gorgeous. It's the centerpiece of Magic Kingdom, and some would argue the emblem of the whole experience. So I think you got to go to, obviously not the source of everything, but the start of it. And it gets you in that mindset of anything is possible and magic exists. And I think it's just such a fun ride. And it really, I think, takes a lot of us back to our childhoods. And then when you're walking down Main Street, there she is, that beautiful castle. So that would be my start.
Perfect. On my list, but it doesn't matter because everything's on my list.
I
So
know you have like all the Disney movies listed out, right?
I just opened the Wikipedia page of all the Disney movies ever released, and I'm like, these are what you have to watch.
I did that too.
Yeah, I
Oh.
went through it, and I was like looking at them. So yeah, so Cinderella Castle, right? Of course. So that's for me. That's a must, kind of a must watch. Also to prepare you, right? So you prepare for character dining at Akershus and Cinderella's Royal Table and 1900 Park Fair. So I agree with that pick completely. And Prince Charming's Regal Carousel, I think, is the only Cinderella attraction anywhere. And it wasn't always. I forget what was it called before the something else carousel. I forget.
Is it King Arthur?
Was it King Arthur's Carousel? Yeah, I think that's right.
Isn't that what it was out here?
That's what it is. Is it still in Disneyland? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Maybe
Disney
that's
World
why I'm
was
saying
something
that.
else. It was
I'm
Cinderella's.
bi-coastal.
Cinderella's.
So.
Yeah, bi-coastal. And I don't know if you can still meet the stepsisters outside in the castle courtyard or not. I've seen them. It's weird. I saw a post somewhere that they were no longer meeting, but then on my last trip, I remember seeing them. So I don't know if they're just kind of once in a while or what. But no, I totally agree with that pick. Cinderella.
Awesome.
It's a great one. And yeah, so awesome. Okay. So my first one, I'm going to just stick with the animated classics, I think. And my first one definitely is The Little Mermaid. On your list or not on your list?
It's not. I tried to keep it like really tight, but
Awesome. No,
that's
that's
just
great.
a personal favorite.
So for me, I love it because New Fantasyland, right? There's so much Little Mermaid. I know.
Mhm.
And are we going to stop calling it New Fantasyland soon? Like,
It's
let's
just
not call it-
Fantasyland now.
right? But is there still a
Right?
sign that says New Fantasyland? There is. It's on the map. I think it's still. Let me look. Hold on, Lauren. I got my map.
They're gonna milk it for as long as they can
Yeah,
to
I
get
know.
people
Look.
through the door. Have you seen it yet? Yeah, it's been here quite some
Yeah,
time,
like,
friends.
It's been here for like 8 years. Of course, I've seen it. No, okay, all right. So the latest park map that I have just calls it Fantasyland. Okay, all right. So maybe they
All right,
stopped.
we've migrated
All
over.
right. They stopped with the new stuff. So in Fantasyland, okay, you have Prince Eric's Castle, which is awesome. Which is
Oh,
the
it's
outside of
gorgeous.
Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid. So you got to get ready for that. You got to get ready to meet Ariel in her grotto. You got to get ready for the show over at Hollywood Studios. And again,
Yes.
for character dining at Akershus as well, because Ariel will be over there. And it's that movie, I think, it was like the beginning of the second age of Disney like animation, right? The second
Oh,
golden age.
absolutely.
And it's a phenomenal movie especially for little girls who, she's kind of the hero in that movie. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
like
Yeah.
Prince Eric's, he just kind of stands around. It's obviously like Ariel is definitely the hero. And I guess with a little help from Sebastian and Scuttle and Flounder. But yeah, I think if you're going for your kids and to kind of give them a little kind of prep on what they're going to see and what they're going to experience at Fantasyland, I think that's a great one.
Absolutely. That movie, I think I was 4 when it came out, and it might be the first movie that my mom took me to see in a theater.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, just growing up with that's so like incredible to have that timing. Like we didn't go through the desert of Disney animation that was before that.
Oh yeah, there's some
So
bad ones in them before that one.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
And you could argue we had some downtime coming in the future, but like to grow up on Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Lion King, like, oh my gosh, like what amazing timing to have your childhood line up with that. So
yeah, I was
well
saying-
done, mom and dad.
yeah, I was saying you and my sister are pretty close in age, and she was the same way. Like she grew up like every year of her childhood, one of these was coming out.
Yeah.
Like what a cool thing! Like what? Yeah, like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Little Mermaid, and I don't know how old I was when this came out, 11, probably 12. So I was a little older, but I got to go with my sister, so that was really cool to see her experience that stuff. And I was a Disney nerd anyway, so I love these movies.
Yeah.
And I babysat when I was a kid, so I'm one of, I think, on one side of on my mom's side, I'm one of like 27 grandchildren. So, and
Oh,
I'm the second oldest, so I babysat so many kids growing up.
fun.
And we had the VCR, always had the VCR with the Disney movies out. You pop it in. the
Oh,
babysitter.
those old like plastic
Oh, yeah.
clamshell.
Did you see
I
they're
love
selling
those
those in the
things.
parks as notepads now?
What?
Yeah, so the old VHS white, like the white
Yeah.
VHS boxes. It's the exact same box. It's a little smaller though, and you open it. It has that clicking noise when you open it. You can hear it like that audible. When you open it, it's a yellow legal pad inside. You can write on it, and it's for your office. It's the perfect thing. It's the perfect thing for people like us who had those movies when we were young. When you want them now, it's great. So yeah,
that's amazing. Oh, I'm gonna have to find one. Oh, I'm gonna have to look for it.
You were just in Disneyland. You should have. It's a bummer you didn't see them.
I know. I'll have to go back.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, it's Disneyland.
Obviously.
Yes, you have to go back. Yeah, all right. So enough about Little Mermaid, but that was my first pick. What do you got for number 2?
So, I'm deciding where I want to go next. Let's go to studios. And I'm doing this obviously by park. That's kind of how I thought or organized it in my brain. But I think one of the movies that will help you get in the mood for going over to Hollywood Studios is the Muppet movie.
Nice.
Which I don't think was a Disney production. I think it was actually Henson, and then Disney acquired it later. But we're going to go with it because I think it sets you up for like all the Hollywood like period feel. And I think it also obviously gets you ready for the attraction, the 3D movie. And I love the story of like let's go to Hollywood, plus all the cameos, all the stars that are in that movie. It's insane when you start to look at like the IMDb. You go, oh my gosh, I can't believe like Steve Martin's in this movie. It's just hysterical. Like it's a riot. So I think it really gets you ready for everything that you're going to experience in the parks, because studios, obviously right now it's a little sad. There's not a whole lot going on there, but it's queuing up for like all this amazingness coming. And I think it'll really get you ready to just take in some of the things that aren't so like attraction driven, and really absorb the ambiance, because that is certainly still there in spades. And I love that park and the feel of it. Maybe that's because I'm a California girl, but I think Muppet movies is the one that I could think of that really would like get you ready to enjoy that experience.
I love the Muppets. Love the Muppets. I was bummed.
They're so good.
I was so bummed when they canceled the ABC show. I liked it when it was a little edgier. I still liked it when they brought it back to being more Muppet-like. But I like that. It was really cool to have the Muppets on every week. The reason I love your pick, it does tie into the attraction, and it ties into that part of the park, the Muppet Courtyard now, as we're calling it.
Yes.
But I like going into the Muppet store. And I know it's not from that movie. I think it's from the Great Muppet Caper, where it's the hotel inside the store. And if you look up, you see all the rooms, just like in the movie. I love that. I love that they put that in there. They have the lockers from Muppets Takes Manhattan in that store, if you know where to look. And, they say, so all the Muppet memorabilia, why can't I talk? That's hard to say, actually. Muppet
Yeah, it is.
When your mouth moves as quickly as mine does, that's really difficult to say. I try to slow it down for the podcast, but sometimes when I'm talking about the Muppets, all bets are off.
You just get so excited.
Yeah, man. Everything's, yeah. So, but I mean, listen, my kids, I've gotten them, and even a few years ago when the Muppets, before that movie came out, when my kids were really little, the first, Muppet movie, what's it called? Just the Muppets, right? What was that? What it was called? Just the Muppets?
I think it's the Muppet movie, isn't it?
Well, the Muppet movie was the original one. That's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one that they did in the mid 2000s or late.
Oh, that was called the Muppet. Yeah.
Did the Muppets, and then there was Muppets Most Wanted. So I introduced my kids to the Muppet Family Christmas and Muppets Take Manhattan and the Muppet movie before those new movies came out. So, man, my kids have been in it since, like, they've been born. They love
that's
it.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Muppet Christmas Carol is far and away, like, my favorite Christmas movie.
It's
like so good.
Have you seen Muppet Family Christmas, though?
I have not.
Okay. You and I we have a problem right now. You
Oh,
and I.
we do.
Yes.
All right. I'm sorry.
This is
I have
something-
seen it. I take it back.
No,
I've
this
seen
is
it.
something
We're good.
you have to start watching every Christmas. And I know this
All
is
right.
off on a complete tangent. You're too young to remember this movie because I think it came out in the mid 80s or maybe the late 80s. You wouldn't have seen it, but you can get it on YouTube. And I want you to promise me that even before Christmas, like you're saying this on the podcast, you're going to promise me now that you're going to watch it. You're going to go to YouTube when you have 40 minutes free. I know you don't get a lot of time free. And watch Muppet Family Christmas. It will be your new favorite Christmas movie. I promise you.
Scout's honor. I will go and I will watch it.
Dude, it's so
Maybe
good.
we'll do Christmas in July.
It's so you have to. It's so good. I'm telling you. All right. It's Lauren, I kid you not. You will let I know you were an adult. It's a movie from the 80s. You will laugh and you will cry. It's the Muppets.
Aww.
It's Sesame Street. All the Sesame Street characters are in it. So it's all the Muppets.
Wow.
It's all the guys from Sesame Street. It's the Fraggles, all in one movie, and they all co-mingle. They all are
Wow.
together for Christmas.
That's insane.
No, I can't believe. I'm so excited that you haven't seen this. I
can
really
tell.
I really want to know what you think.
Alrighty.
I know. I'm so.
I've got homework this week now.
You do, yeah. Now, yeah. We're gonna have. If you don't watch it, I'll be upset. So,
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
Sorry, that was a complete tangent. So I have to go on. Is it my next one? Yeah. I have to go on my next one. But I do love the Muppets pick.
they're so good.
All right. I'm saying in Hollywood Studios. I'm kind of going. Well, I'll be over Magic Kingdom too on this one. My next pick again. It's going to be an obvious one, but it is of course Beauty and the Beast. I mentioned it earlier.
Oh,
Did you?
on my list.
It is on your list. Okay, so we can kind of take it together because again, with Fantasyland when it was rebuilt or when this part was built, you literally have the little town in the park now. Like you have Maurice's and Belle's Cottage with Enchanted Tales with Belle. You have the Beast Castle with Be Our Guest. You have Gaston's Tavern. I mean, it's all there, and you can experience it like in real life. And I love it. And I love that my kids can watch that movie and then we can get into the park and they can go live it. Like my kids have gotten to be Belle in Enchanted. I mean, not Belle. They gotten to be the Beast in Enchanted Tales with Belle and dance with Belle. And I've been, of course, I've been the Suit of Armor. And we've eaten at Be Our Guest. And that's kind of a thing that we do. And the movie there's so much of that movie now in the park that it's amazing. And you really, really feel like you're living and stepping foot into the movie. I just love that. And of course you can meet Belle in her blue dress over at France at Epcot. And there's the Beauty and the Beast live show at Hollywood Studios. And she's at Akershus and the Gaston meet and greet. And there's so much that you can see. So sorry, I went on and on and on, but
No, but you really covered it. I mean, when you start to think about this movie, and especially now, is it the Wonder that had, or who got the new imaginary imagined?
You were putting me on the spot, and I do not remember which ship it is. I know it's not the
it's
Wonder.
on one of the ships.
It's not the Wonder. Because that's where I'm going to be on the Wonder in a few weeks,
okay.
And that's still the Frozen show. So maybe it's the Magic or the Dream or the Fantasy.
It's one of those three. So yeah, but I mean, they're really like with the new live action when they're bringing it back in even bigger ways. It was already such a huge presence, and I love that you said Belle in the blue dress because I was Belle in the blue dress when I was a kid for Halloween. I think the year it came out. So I have an affinity towards that Belle, even though it's the same Belle.
Nice.
I like Belle in the blue dress. And actually, that's the name of my blue car. So this movie, like, again, like it's part of that whole, the Menken Ashman, amazing towering duo for the music. And I love this film and I love that they're bringing it back. And when I saw the new Fantasyland coming from California and not having experienced Fantasyland in Florida since I think it was, oh my gosh, I think it was 2008 or maybe 2007 was the last time I had been there. And I came back, 5-6 years down the line and went, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the little town. It's a quiet village. Like,
Dude, I had
this
that.
is
I had that
amazing.
written. I had that exact quote written on my paper that I'm looking at right now.
Oh
'Cause I
no,
was
we
gonna
share
say-
a brain.
I was going to say that. That's exactly. That was going to be one of my quotes. But no, you're right. It's when you walk through there now. It's not. Listen, Disneyland started the same way with their Fantasyland, like the medieval tent, the tents, and Walt Disney World still has that to a little bit of a degree in, I guess, Fantasyland proper or old Fantasyland.
Inside the keep, if you will.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Disneyland changed in what, 80, I think it was like 83 or something. They redid the whole Fantasyland there. And then, but when you come to Fantasyland now in Magic Kingdom, it's just it's a completely different ball game. Like,
Yeah.
It's up. Everything is themed. Every nook, every cranny of Maurice's cottage has something to do with the movie in it. Like, I've said this on the podcast before, but if you're walking through the queue, there's a book on a desk in the first room in the house, in the cottage that you walk through. And the book has a bite out of it because it's the book that the goat bit in the beginning of the movie.
Oh,
That bite is out of that book sitting there. Like, how cool is that?
that's amazing.
So those are the little things that you can look for, like when you've seen the movie, and when you go into Gaston's Tavern, and you see the scoreboard for the darts between LeFou and Gaston, and like there's like 1,000 wins for Gaston, and there's none for LeFou, and maybe there's like one for LeFou or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's just little things like that, and the antlers, like. I can't sing it, but the antlers and all that decorating. I want to sing it, but I can't sing it. I'm going to. No, I'm
we'll
not
save
gonna
that
sing
for after we stop recording. We'll just do a full rendition. I'll be LeFou.
I do. I do that stuff with my kids all the time. Like I can't sing at all, and I've sung on this podcast. Sang. What is it? Lauren, you know better than me. I've sang on this podcast.
You sang on this pod. It's one of the
Thank
weird
you.
ones.
It is. That's a hard one to remember. But I have antlers, something like that. That's terrible.
Oh,
That
come
wasn't
on.
it. That wasn't
Okay,
it.
if you're gonna go to I have antlers, you gotta go. You gotta go all the way to
No,
decorating.
I use antlers in all of my decorating. All right, that's all I
Say
got.
it again.
There you go. All right, now before we get, I mean, we're letting this get off the rails.
And now this is a musical podcast.
At least you brought it home a little bit. I was terrible on that one.
No, you got it.
Yeah, right. All right. So anyway, we both agree Beauty and the Beast is one you absolutely have to watch before you go. I mean, I think I'm going to watch it tonight after talking about it. I'm going to go in. My kids, I'm going to go in and be like, this is what we're watching, even though they've seen it 6,000 times.
And then it'll be a Grand Lake family musical
yeah.
in your living room.
We all do it. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
So we do dance parties in my kitchen where all the time, like you and my house is crazy. Like I will just like sneak my external, like, my Bluetooth speaker. I'll just like put it in the kitchen, and then I'll just like play a song from Zootopia or from Frozen. And by the time I get up to the kitchen, all the kids are dancing and they're all singing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're
How fun.
I mean, we are such a nerd family, but I love it. I'd have it no other way. Like seriously, it's so much fun.
Absolutely.
All right, Lauren. Sorry, I'm going off on crazy tangents. I think you're up for your next one.
All right. Since we're talking about amazing musicals, let's just head over to Animal Kingdom and let's watch Lion King. Because I think when I was trying to think about it in terms of like what is sort of the essence of Animal Kingdom, obviously there's like Africa and India, but for the whole park, now Pandora, but for the whole park, like there's this, I can't, like, it's the soundtrack of the park is like there's these incessant drums that sort of go, like, they follow you around no matter where you are. They're doing it in Pandora now. Obviously it's in Africa as well, and you just hear it and you experience it. And to me, it's like all about the music that came with the Lion King. Like, it was so revolutionary. We have like the very traditional musicals in Little Mermaid, and you could argue Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, but then with Lion King, they changed it up. And to me, that is the feel of Animal Kingdom. And I love this movie. Again, grew up with it, but I think, the message of conservation is there, but they're not like beating you over the head with it. you really have this beautiful story, Hamlet, if you will, but amazing music, and just I can't say enough good things about Lion King, and to me, it's just really the essence of the park.
Wait, you're telling me that they ripped that story off from Shakespeare? No way. There's no way that's not an original story.
It's a beautiful love story, don't you know? It ends a little differently.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, I don't know. When I was thinking about Animal Kingdom, I was like, even just the Tree of Life sort of calls back to the tree in Lion King. Like, there's so much that's just like the visuals and the music that really seems to come from and be inspired by Lion King. Plus, you can see it when you're there, so that's awesome.
You're right. I mean, right on with everything. Like, the Festival of the Lion King show, by the way, is one of my favorite. When I went to see that show, I couldn't believe how good that actually is.
Mm-hmm.
From a show that, and again, I think I mentioned this on the podcast before, that was supposed to be just a temporary show in the park. Yeah, like, so I think I've said this, maybe I haven't. When you look at that show, what is it, right? It's a bunch of singers, some acrobats, and around these floats. It's weird that they bring these floats out. Yeah. They were the floats from the Lion King parade from when that film came out. And when they had them on a backlot somewhere. And I know, it's crazy, right? And when Animal Kingdom opened, they were like, well, there's not enough to do here. We have this theater, let's put a Lion King show in. And they had this temporary quote unquote theater in Camp Mini Mickey. And they brought in these floats and they put the show around the floats. And it was so good that it wasn't temporary. And then they built a new theater for the darn show a couple of years ago, and it's still there. 20 years after it opened, it's still there. So yeah, I mean that I agree with you completely with everything you said. Like that is great. That's something that, you want to see that show. So you want your family and your kids to experience Lion King before they go. But you're so right when you said that drum beat follows you everywhere around the park, and it just feels like that movie. You're so right. Everywhere you go, you're right. Even in Pandora now, when you're walking through, it's that, I don't have any rhythm, but
you're so musical today. I love it.
I think it's a cold medicine.
It's gone straight to your dome.
But but it's so, I love that pick, and it wasn't on my list, and I know. And then right as you were talking about Pandora, I was like, I should have went with that one. That should be on my list. But again, there's everything that we say, and I'm like, oh yeah, that reminds me of it. But yeah, I'm always gonna have a soft spot for Animal Kingdom because it's the first park I worked in. When I got there, it just opened. It was a few months old. They were still ironing it, everything out, and Lion King was such a big part of that park, and I think you're right. I think it still is. Even like the safari, right? Like there's the rocks, the Pride Rock that looks an awful lot like the Pride Rock in the movie. The cafeteria for the cast members backstage is called Pride Rock.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so, how funny!
And there's a little insider info for everyone.
There you go.
Yeah. But so it's really cool. A lot of it's so much of that park is tied into Lion King. That's a great pick. And I'm surprised. I didn't even think about it, but you're right. You're exactly right. Okay. So my next one, I don't even know how many we've done so far, but you should just stop me when you think we've done enough.
I still have plenty to go, so we're good.
Okay, good. All right, so my next one is one that I hope you didn't think of because I don't want to steal another one of yours, but this one is something that lives primarily in Magic Kingdom. And the movie is Swiss Family Robinson.
Dude, it's on my list.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. I just love that we both went there.
Yeah, listen, this is one, like, most kids don't know this movie because most adults don't know it because it's from 1960, right? So parents of teenagers like now weren't even born when this movie came out. So I think unless you are like us who were kind of raised on this stuff, you've never seen it. I looked it up. You can get it on like Amazon and on YouTube. You can rent it for like $2.99. So you should, if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it because it's one of those. Buy
it. It's so good.
It's really worth owning. You're right. And it's a throwback to not only the early days of Walt Disney World, but Disneyland. I mean, you can't walk through that attraction and not imagine living in that treehouse.
Yeah.
Like every time you walk through, like I remember my first trip walking through there, and I felt like it was real. Like they have the water jugs, everything's moving and kinetic, and the water jugs are moving up the tree, and you go into the bedrooms, and it feels like, and you walk through and you hear what is it, how do you say that? The Swissapoka? The music?
Polka, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that exactly right.
I'll do the background. You keep talking. I'm just gonna riff here.
Do it in the background. Do you have that CD or that I know CD is dated, but do you have that music somewhere on your the Disney parks music?
It somewhere? Just lives in my head. That's all.
Because I have it on I have it on iTunes. I have it on the hard drive in my car because we have the Disney. Yeah, I know. I'm such a nerd.
You want to torture your kids on the way to school? Just play this.
No, they love it. They want to hear that stuff.
That's amazing.
When we get in the car, sometimes in the morning, they want me to start the Disneyland album, and it's the train. It's like burn, and the guy, the conductor, your attention, please. The Disneyland Limited is. Yeah, we have that in my car, so that's a big part of it. That music, anyway. But if you haven't seen this movie, first of all, it's a great movie. It's a classic. It's about a family. Well, I'm not going to go into the whole plot. I mean, that's crazy. But I will be here forever if I start breaking down plots.
It's totally like the essence of Adventureland.
Yes.
Like shipwrecks, there's pirates, so it sort of gets you tied in there. There's an ostrich race.
Yeah. A race where they're riding ostriches and zebras. And it's great. Yeah, it's a great movie. Right, and there's pirates, and then they end up... Well, I can't tell the end. I was going to tell the ending of the movie. Jeez.
Don't do it. They live in a treehouse. That's good enough. How cool.
Spoiler alert.
And kind of going back to what you were saying, Phil, about it being very kinetic, I think the other thing that... It made me so sad when they took it out of Disneyland because it's a must-do for me. Every time I'm in Magic Kingdom now, I can't tell you the last time I walked through Tarzan. There's something about it where it's functional. It feels like it helps inform your imagination to be like, oh, these are the things I would need if I was living in a tree, as a human in a tree. And you just don't get that with Tarzan. So, I think I think that was a big, if I had to label it, that would be a big mistake that they made in Disneyland, except sometimes you get to meet Tarzan, so that kind of puts it back on the yay side of the world. But
that's you and Amy. You both love that.
I know. Amy and I when we both talked about Tarzan, I was like, oh, I love her. She's my people. But yeah, Swiss Family Robinson, so much fun. And also I think, you could argue this kind of goes to Hollywood studios as well, because you see this different side of Disney, especially if you've never experienced Parent Trap or Pollyanna or any of the live action that they were doing. It's a lot of British actors because I think a lot of it was filmed in, probably not this one, but a lot of it was filmed in England. Treasure Island, another great one. It's an era of cinema that will inform you as you think about the journey of Walt Disney, from how do we get from Snow White to these movies, to the new golden era of musicals, to, the parks. How did this all grow? It sort of helps inform you on that side of things as well.
Yeah, dude, you take it very deep. I was like, look at the ostriches.
Oh, that's my favorite scene. It's amazing.
No, it is. And what's funny is when I was doing this list, I looked it up to see where it was filmed, and it was actually filmed in Tobago, the tree part of it.
Trinidad and Tobago,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and they built the actual house around the tree, and it was stayed as a tourist destination until the 70s. And then a hurricane came through and ripped it out. But the tree is still there. But not a lot of people know what that tree was, and that it was part of this kind of iconic movie. But something that I always remember, we had a local movie rental place in my neighborhood called Movie World. And we would go, and they would have the Disney, what was it called? The Walt Disney's home video movies, right? And they were VHS, and they were in a white box with Mickey, Sorcerer and Mickey at the top, with red cursive writing, and it said Walt Disney Home Video. And I'll never forget, we would go, and my brother and later on, my sister and I would go and look at that wall and be like, okay, what haven't we seen yet? We'd be like, okay, Old Yeller, yeah, we saw it. Toby Tyler, saw that one. And then, you would get Treasure Island, or you would get 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or Swiss Family Robinson. So that's why I always have memories of that. So, yeah, I love that movie, and that's funny that we both picked it.
I remember I used to go to a video store when I was really kids. There used to be a place called Video Rental Stores, and this was not even a Blockbuster. This was before Blockbuster was a thing. It was like the mom and pop, like you'd go and you'd take off these little tabs, and then you'd take it up, and it would have the name of the video on it because they just had the box.
Yep.
And I remember Pete's Dragon and Swiss Family Robinson were like right next to one another in the kids section. They didn't do it alphabetically. They did it by like the genre. And so it was always a dilemma, like which tab am I going to take? And I don't know how many times I rented those movies, but like I wore those cassettes out.
Yeah. You would get them so many times the tracking would all be off.
Yeah.
Tracking. Oh my God. You remember that? Anyway.
Yes. Oh my God.
This is old. We're like, I'm really old thinking about tracking.
I feel ancient.
I remember I watched Spaceballs once, and I couldn't figure out the tracking for like an hour. So I just kept rewinding it and like trying to fix the tracking on my VCR.
Oh.
Anyway, all right. So, okay. I think, was it you? You're up?
Alrighty. So I'm going to take us back to Animal Kingdom because we did The Lion King, but I think we have to like touch on the other side of the park, which, well, technically there's more than that, but I would say you should really watch The Jungle Book before you go. I think, to me, like when you're walking through the Maharaja Jungle Trek, you're really getting a feel of, the kind of animals that you would have experienced in the movie. And I just love this movie. Like the music is so fun. The voiceover, like the people they got to voice these characters, it's incredible. So you have this amazing talent as part of an animated feature, which again, going from a cinematic side, like it's amazing what Walt did. I mean, he completely changed the industry. And so if you're a film buff, or if you pay attention to sort of the progression of cinema over the years, it's pretty powerful to go from this, what did they call Snow White? Walt's
Folly.
Yeah. So I knew it was an old timey word.
Yes.
So, to go from that to having, these amazing people voicing characters in your animated feature, that, is just pretty powerful stuff. So I would watch that because first of all, I love the movie. It's so funny and so cute and so charming. And it's another one that, kids these days might not have seen. It's really one of those classics. So it's a wonderful, wonderful way to sort of tie into the India side of Animal Kingdom, but also the Jungle Cruise. So back to MK, it really sort of gets you on multiple fronts there.
So great. Again, not on my list. Awesome pick. Again, you're right. Walking through Maharaja Jungle Trek might as well be the a scene from that film. It really kind of feels like it. I love the music too. What's funny is you said kids may not have seen it. This is one my kids haven't seen, believe it or not. I know, but it's
what?
There's a weird reason for it. And do you remember? Well, of course you remember. It was only a couple years ago. The live action one came out.
Yes.
And we put it on. We rented it when it came on demand, and they hadn't seen the animated one yet. And I don't know why. It's when we hadn't played for them, and we put on the live one, and the opening scene is like Mowgli running through the jungle, and it looks like he's afraid, but it turns out to be a game. He's running from, I forget who he's running from, but
maybe Bagheera.
Yeah, that's who it is, and it's really kind of frightening, the opening scene.
Looks like he's being stalked.
Yeah, exactly. And all three of my kids were like, "Nope, I'm not watching this. This is scary." And
Oh.
and Alexa started calling it Smungle Book instead of Jungle Book because she said it was the fake Jungle Book. So now I can't get her to watch either one because I'm like, we'll watch Jungle Book, and she's like,
Oh.
Smungle Book? Nope. So
But you can meet Baloo, right? And King Louie
yeah,
in Animal Kingdom.
yes,
Like
that's true.
that meet and greet looks amazing.
Yeah, on the old Discovery Riverboat dock.
Yeah.
Did you see the video on YouTube with the rat that comes out of the brush?
Oh no.
It's so okay. Listen, This is Animal Kingdom. It's outside. It's a theme park. It's built on the swamp in Central Florida.
Yeah. You're gonna
be
get
real wildlife
stuff.
sometimes. There's nothing they can do. For some reason, that area where that dock is, there have been rat sightings. They have traps. They get rid of them. They humanely release them away from the park, but for some reason they come back. I don't know why. That area just attracts them. When I worked at Animal Kingdom almost 20 years ago, they were there. I would see them in the water.
Oh, wow.
That exact spot. So really recently, there was somebody videoing, as these young kids today always do, a meet and greet with Baloo and King Louie. And all of a sudden, the girls who were standing with them start jumping up on the railings, yelling and screaming. And the camera goes to the ground, and there's a rat running across under everybody's feet. And King Louie falls to the ground, just completely falls to the ground. Baloo runs for his life. And then they show the video. They keep showing it over and over in slow motion. It is hilarious. And
All I can think is Shere Khan with like the fire on his tail.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, King Louie gets up and is like patting his chest, like, "Oh my god!" Like they're so scared to death. Everybody in the shot. It's great. Yeah, you got to look that up on YouTube. It's so funny. But
oh my god.
But yes, and I'm
I'll
not
never
scared.
go to that meet and greet now. Never mind, ruined. Don't
I know.
watch Jungle Book.
I
Don't
just-
even go to Animal Kingdom. There's rats there, guys.
It's like that one time when somebody was in Animal Kingdom and then a snake fell out of the tree and landed on
Yeah.
somebody's shoulders. Like it's a big wild park. Like,
Well,
there's
and it's
wild
so
animals. It's
lush.
yeah.
Like, there's no way you can control that.
No,
You
there's
know,
not.
they do what they can.
Yes. So
But-
yes, there are real animals that aren't actually housed at Animal Kingdom.
Aren't on the tour.
You're right, like the cats at Disneyland. Like people think that's not
Yeah.
real.
Oh, it's real.
Yeah, you see, I've seen them, and I've only been to Disneyland maybe 5 times, and I've seen them. Like I've
If
been,
you go to Trader Sam's, you can feed them. They'll come up and like
Yeah.
I've definitely given one little white kitty some taco. You know, it happens.
your Marie is hanging out at the Trader Sam's in a little like the courtyard area outside. Yeah, you see a lot of them. Anyway, that's my story about the King Louie and Baloo meet and greet. But anyway, all right. So it's my turn. Yeah, it's my turn.
Yes.
Okay. So this one. So this movie, right, is all but set on Tom Sawyer Island. I don't know if you have it, but it's Tom and Huck. I don't know if you've seen that movie. No.
I love that
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
JTT, are you kidding me?
So it is.
Brad Renfro? Yeah.
Yeah, Brad Renfro. It all went wrong for him somewhere.
I
It's a shame.
know. He was so good in that.
That's a shame. That guy. He had a tough life. But
He
JTT
did.
is in it at his JTT-iest. Not JT.
The hair.
Not
Oh,
Justin
the
Timberlake.
hair.
But Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Yeah, he had that. He had the. It's funny. I don't know if they had those hairstyles in the time of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, but though
90s? The 90s?
yeah, the 90s hair. But anyway, so the island was there long before the movie. I mean, the island dates back to Disneyland in 1955, but there are references like all over the place to Tom Sawyer Island. It takes a lot of the ideas. It's weird. Like I'm trying to kind of explain. When you're on Tom Sawyer Island, you could be on the set for that film. Like to me,
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of what it
It
feels
feels
like.
that way for sure.
And you have to watch the movie with your kids and see how bad of a guy Injun Joe actually is, and then try to walk through Injun Joe's cave on the island without scaring the pants off yourself. Because have you walked through that cave over there?
Oh yeah.
It's downright creepy and scary.
Yeah.
Like my kids were
and
scared
they
to death.
did him so well. Like that
Yeah.
actor is so good.
Yeah, and he's a murderer. Like,
Yeah.
he's a legit, and he tries to kill them. And
Yeah.
it's like a legit scary scene. He's a scary character, and when you're on the island now, when I'm there, and there's the sign outside like Injun Joe, and it explains who he is. Because again, a lot of kids now they don't know who he is. They go
Right.
over. You take the raft over to Tom Sawyer Island. You're just doing a barrel bridge. You're running around. You're coming back. You don't think a lot about the story that's over there. And it's such a good story. And it's a bummer that Disneyland lost it with the
know.
Pirate Slayer. I know. Another mistake that Disneyland made.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
those two
They're
things.
taking out the classic stuff, and it shouldn't be going. Like that's, if anything, it should be going at World.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
it's the original. You're kind of like, stop it, guys. What are you
that's-
doing?
That Tom Sawyer Island and the one in Walt Disney World is almost an exact replica of the original Disneyland one. That was drawn by Walt Disney he drew those plans.
Was it?
So wait, there's a cool story behind that. He comes into a meeting one day and sees what they have drawn up for Tom Sawyer Island, what the Imagineers have, or WED as it was back in the day.
Sure.
And he looks at it and he's like, no, you guys got this all wrong. This isn't what I want. This isn't how I want it to look. These aren't the things that I want on the island. I'm taking this home with me. He takes it home to his actual home, goes into the barn on Carrollwood Drive, redesigns all of Tom Sawyer Island in the night, comes back to the studio the next day, puts it on the table and says, this is what I want. And they built it exactly how he wanted it. He designed that island himself. That's completely his. And it kind of bums me out that it's not there in Disneyland anymore. I know there's elements of it that are there, but it's not the same thing.
Sure. No. And I think that's the thing that we love about Walt. He's such a big kid. Like, he knows what kids are going to love.
Yeah.
I remember going through that when I was younger and could, fit. That just thinking how cool it was. Like, it's just so amazing. Like, oh, look at this little hole over here. It doesn't even go anywhere. Like, how cool. Like, I can just sit in this little pocket and nobody will know I'm here. Like, I just remember that joy of feeling like you were exploring something as opposed to like, this is how we go through this attraction. It's so different. And it, again, opens up the imagination. Oh, so amazing. I didn't know that story. You have all the best stories about Walt.
Sorry, I know I'm such a nerd with this stuff. But
No, it's amazing.
I've just read every book available about, and I used to listen to a lot of Disney podcasts. I don't listen to any anymore because I don't want to rip them off and sound like them. Like I want to do my own thing. But yeah, I think I heard that. I read that. That's from a book and I actually heard. I think it was either Bob Gurr or Rolly Crump. One of them told me that about Tom Sawyer Island. So
how cool.
Yeah, I know. I'm like such a snob.
I want you
that's
to
also
just like,
Bob Gurr.
yeah, I was like, let's just replay that sentence and think about Phil 10 years ago. Would you have thought you were going to be able to say that?
10 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be doing this podcast. I didn't think I would have this business. I never thought I would meet anybody like Bob or Rolly Crump or, Jim Cummings or Julie Andrews. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's been a really fun, kind of unexpected journey so far. Where were we? Yeah.
Tom and Huck.
Tom and Huck. Back to Tom and Huck. Yeah, no, it's just a great movie. It really is. And it puts you, after you watch it and when you're on the island, you totally feel like it could be in the movie. It's one of those things. It's one of those movies that, like, really, and one of those places in Walt Disney World that puts you directly into a movie. And I know it was designed that way, and it was supposed to do that, but it really does. And my kids love it. My kids love going over and going on the Barrel Bridge and the playground and running around and going to Aunt Polly's, even though there's nothing there. Just sitting there in the rocking chairs, and they love it. So I think not only do you have to watch the movie, but if you don't go to Tom Sawyer Island regularly, you have to get over there.
Absolutely. I think the other thing about Tom and Huck, I love this choice, by the way. Oh my gosh. It's one of my favorite movies. It really brings in the Americana that I think Walt was so enamored with. You get the feel of Frontierland. It really it's touching on Mark Twain and his original stories. I'm usually a fan of reading the books, but I think for young kids, this is a really great way to sort of show them what life would have been like in that time period. And it really sort of puts everything in context for you. So good. So good.
Well,
and then when, Mark Twain starts talking, you're like, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know something about him.
Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, when you're on like the what is it? The Liberty Bell.
Liberty Bell, yeah.
And you can hear the narration, and that's another thing. That's another whole part of it, of that experience. Yeah. All right, good. I'm glad you agree. Because we're not going to disagree. There's not one place. Like, I'm not going to bring up an area you're going to be like, no, that's not. No way. Would you watch?
Sorry, you're wrong.
Yeah, right. That's not the kind of podcast this is, and not the kind of people I don't think either of us are. Anyway,
No.
All right, Lauren, you're up. Oh, wait, by the way, this is random. I got a bell, and I don't know why I want to ring it, because now it reminds me of the Liberty Bell. So I'm going to ring it. Ready? Listen to this. So I bought it. Yeah, I bought that for my office.
The sounds of the world.
Yeah, it sounds like Walt Disney World, right? It sounds like the
Totally does.
Anyway, so you're up for your next one.
All right. So I had a really hard time thinking about Epcot and a film that I would choose to sort of represent the spirit of the thing. So obviously Epcot has the two parts. You've got Future World and you've got World Showcase. And I have to say, it's not my favorite movie, but when I was sitting and watching Tomorrowland, the newer film, Tomorrowland, I thought that Tomorrowland wasn't so much Tomorrowland. It felt more like what Walt's initial vision for Epcot was, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. So I would recommend watching that movie again with an eye on like what the original vision was for Epcot. Obviously, they're starting to bring the films in. You've got Belle in France, you've got Alice in England. Now I'm sure Coco is everywhere over in Mexico. You've got Mulan in China. Like, all the pavilions have their characters, but I feel like the kind of, again, going to the history, maybe it's just being kind of a Disney nerd, going to the history of it, I really think that I guess it would be the second half of Tomorrowland, where they're kind of more in that world, that you really get a sense of maybe what Walt would have loved for Epcot to be. And it kind of gives you, again, a context for experiencing that park that right now feels a little bit like disparate. I think I love World Showcase, but Future World is obviously going through an evolution, and I think it's interesting to imagine what maybe it could have been, or why it ended up the way it is now, with the different attractions and whatnot, to sort of kind of take that view of what might have been otherwise.
So when I watched that movie for the first time, I remember we watched it in our old house, and I had the home theater that I don't have in a new house yet. I'm getting it. I'm going to build my Trader Sam's. We just haven't had time to do it yet. But I remember watching it by myself, and so many of the shots of the skyline of the city in Tomorrowland reminded me of the Progress Land model that Walt Disney introduced in the 60s. Like, and I know there's that little piece of it that you can see when you're on the People Mover in Magic Kingdom still.
Yeah, the concept art, I think.
Well, they
are you
actually
talking about
have
the model?
Yeah, the model.
Oh, yeah.
They have the little model, but that's one small part of this enormous model. Like, that model was the size of a room, and it was huge. Wow. And another story that no one knows where the rest of that model is. It's somewhere in the archives, in a warehouse somewhere in Orlando, but nobody knows, from what I know, exactly where it is.
Like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, that's what I imagine, right? I imagine, and I've been backstage as a cast member and stuff, but there are certain warehouses that you don't get access to. And I imagine there's a warehouse that looks very much like that. Like all these boxes, and they have like numbers, and there's like one guy with a checklist that works in the front and doesn't know what it is. Like, that's what I imagine. Raiders of the Lost Ark, or I know it's not everybody's favorite, but Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, when he has like the lead and he's following the BBs around to get to the alien head. That's what I imagine when you're looking for the Progress Land model. But
how funny.
But yeah, but I see there's so much of that movie, you're right, is Epcot. And it was Walt's vision for that city. And yeah, I wish it was a bigger hit. I wish the movie was better. You're right. It's not a great movie. It's good. I enjoyed
beats you over the head with the message. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we get it.
Yeah. You know what does a better job what movie does a better job of that without being that kind of obnoxious about it is Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah,
That's a
good point. Yeah,
great
no,
movie.
you're right.
And that the whole thing
Totally
of that is,
underrated Disney film, by the
yeah,
way.
the whole thing of that is keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of little shots in that movie that are Progress Land as well.
No, you're right. Oh my
And
gosh.
there's a Space Mountain in that movie. If you look for it, there's the big tower from Progress Land. There's all little parts of Epcot that you can see in that movie. It's really cool.
Oh, how cool.
But yeah. Again, Disney nerd, complete Disney nerd to me. But I love that pick. I wanted to love that movie. I just like that movie. Like, I own it.
Yeah.
I've watched it twice. You're right. I think it's just a little heavy handed with the whole, there's a message that I keep repeating, and that right there's a saying. I forget what
Yeah.
it is. I forget what it is. But
I saw it when it came out.
yeah, it's not keep moving
That's
forward.
it.
It's something like that, though. Maybe it is. No, I don't think it is. Anyway, all right. My next one. I have two more. If that's cool.
Oh,
with
me
you.
too.
All right, awesome. So, all right, my next one. Again, a lot of mine go back to Magic Kingdom. This one is no exception, and it's the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. Did you have it on your list?
No,
Okay.
but it's so good.
So it's weird, right? It's the attraction, the only ever Disney attraction that inspired a movie and then inspired a refurbishment of the attraction. It's weird. It's hard to understand, but it has different levels. A lot of different levels that movie and the attraction are working on. There's so many scenes in that movie that were taken directly from the attraction. And the first one especially, right? It opens up and ends with Yo Ho Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me by Exitensio. In the beginning, it's Elizabeth Swann as a kid singing it, remember, on the ship and on the Dauntless. And then at the end, Captain Jack says it before he closes up his compass and it goes to the screen goes to black. There's the jail scene where Jack Sparrow says that dog's never going to move. There's the Lady of the Evening who slaps Captain Jack Sparrow, who's based on the redhead. We Once the Redhead, who sadly will be no more. Although I'm not happy that scene is. I'm the furthest thing from happy that scene is gone. I'm upset that it's gone, but I'm of course a Disney fan, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it.
Have they already taken it out?
Yeah, I think it didn't just close in Walt Disney World. It did.
Okay, because I
yeah.
just wrote it in Disneyland and it was still there.
Yeah, so it just closed in Disney World this past week. So yeah, it's on its way out of there. I know. But I looked up to get one of the pins, the We Wants the Redhead pin. The cheapest one I could get on on eBay was like $55. I was like, that's crazy. So I guess
gosh.
I won't be getting a pin.
We might still have them out here. I might have to just go do a little recon mission.
Yeah, you can sell them on eBay for $55 a piece. If
There you
go.
People from Florida can buy them.
Yeah, right. That's who it'll be. But then there's the pirate. There's more. There's the pirate that's sleeping with the pigs in the movie. He's on the attraction. There's the parrot in the movie that says "Dead men tell no tales."
Yeah.
There's actually a shot of a skeleton on the beach with a crab walking by in the movie.
Oh my God.
At one point, okay, look, I did a lot of research for this. Sorry.
You did. No, I'm blown away.
No, there's so much. At one point, Barbossa yells, I want to do my best Barbossa. Ready? No, I was going to say it. Strike your colors, you bloomin' cockroaches. Strike your colors, you bloomin' cockroaches.
Very nice.
I had to take a shot at it, right?
Yes.
And then there's another part where someone says, keep a weather eye open. And that is from
Oh.
the Skull and Crossbones when you're going down the first hill out
Yeah.
in Disneyland. So there's so much from that movie that's in the attraction and vice versa that I feel like you have to watch that movie, the first one. And there's the other ones are decent and good, but the first Pirates of the Caribbean film is by far the best one. And that's a great movie anyway, so you have to watch it.
Oh, it's so fun. You know, my husband and I just watched it again. I forget why we were just like, we need something light and funny. And he actually, the non-Disney person in this relationship, was like, what about pirates? Like, oh my God, you recommended a Disney movie. I'm absolutely taking you up on that.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to watch it again. Like, it had been a while. And you're right. All those, even if you don't go, ooh, that's from the movie, like or from the attraction, there's that feel of this like cohesiveness of the story. And when you think about reverse engineering that and creating a movie off of those scenes, like how amazing that the attraction has enough in it, has so many layers that it can inspire a whole film, a whole
really well said.
series, like goes to the vision of the Imagineers for sure.
Yeah, and you think about like this is something that was, again, it goes back to Walt, and it's something that was on the drawing board for him when Disneyland was first opening. Was he always wanted a pirates, like first it was going to be like that walk through wax museum, and then they decided no, we need to do something bigger, and then they ended up to they figured out audio animatronics with the Tiki Room and the birds, and they figured, well, we can just do that on a bigger scale. After, of course, Bob Gurr did the Mr. Lincoln animatronic, and they figured out how to do it. Then they were like, well, why don't we use this everywhere? And it went from, there were thoughts of using live actors on that attraction. There were thoughts of, like I said, the Wax Museum, but then eventually it went to almost a fully audio animatronic show. And you're right, like there's just so much in there. There's the story, it's so well told, and there's so much going on that you could ride it over and over again and find new things every time you ride it.
Oh,
You still
absolutely.
can, especially the one at Disneyland. I mean, the one at Disneyland with the extra scenes and the whole part when everything's like the wood and everything's falling apart and they're shooting at each other with the dynamite. Oh, it's amazing. I love that scene, and it's awesome. If you
as a kid, it was like claustrophobic.
yeah, it's true. It is pretty tight in
This whole
there.
place is caving in.
Yeah, but I read recently somebody. I was so mad. I read like a comment. This is how I spend my days, Lauren. I read a comment from somebody on like a Facebook post that I had that was like, they should take Pirates, change it out for this one that they put in Shanghai. And I was like, all Shanghai has is a bunch of screens. Like this one,
Really?
Shanghai looks cool, but it's screens. It's like a lot of it is motion simulator, and I don't want that. I love the way the attraction is. I mean, I love it, and I don't want them to change anything. Now, I'm sad about the redhead, but I never want them to change that attraction, ever.
But do you remember? I mean, they switched it before. It was the pirates chasing the women.
Yeah.
And then they switched that, and then they added Johnny. Like, it's gone through evolutions.
Right.
It's always that announcement. I was totally against all of it, but I think it'll become, like, as long as they do a good job of swapping out a scene and telling the story, like,
yeah, like as long as the story, yeah, right. As long as the story,
it'll be okay. I don't agree with it, but it'll be okay.
Watch, there's going to be a movie made, seriously, from Disney, from Walt Disney Pictures, about the redhead pirate, because that's what she's going to be now. She's going to be a pirate. She's going to have a sword and a hat and a gun, and she's the flintlock pistol, and you almost can see it coming. They're going to make a movie, like a spinoff, and she'll be the star. Like starring like Scarlett Johansson as the redheaded pirate.
I wish they just like keep Zoe Saldana.
Yeah,
like make her.
Yeah. She's been in a lot of Disney stuff. She's like I guess
amazing.
Avatar wasn't the Disney thing, but she's in the Guardians and Guardians 2. And
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Fantastic.
so we got you have two more, I have one. Let's I think we might both have the same final one, but I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna go to Studios,
Okay.
so I'm gonna put the one I think you don't have up. It could go either way. So I think the one thing that you do need to watch before you go to studios, again, I know I keep saying this, I was a theater major, forgive me. Going back to just the evolution of cinema, Toy Story. I think you should go back and watch the original Toy Story, because I think, we get so far out from that original iteration of this amazing technology. And when you watch like Good Dinosaur, the animation, it's so lifelike. I mean, obviously not the dinosaur part, but like there's so many of those elements that you go, wow, like that just looks like you just filmed something.
Yeah.
I think going back to the original Toy Story, I was talking to a friend about this and how it almost looks, I don't know if pixelated is the wrong word, but like it's older technology, but the story that's told is just so beautiful. You kind of don't even think about that. And obviously with the new Toy Story Land or Pixar Land, or what is it called again?
Toy Story Land. Yeah, you were
Toy
right.
Story Land.
Yeah.
We're doing Pixar out here, Toy Story there. With the new Toy Story Land, the Slinky Dog roller coaster, like I think just getting back in the spirit of the thing, and of course Midway Mania, I think it's a great way to get ready for some of the new stuff that's coming to studios.
Yeah, so this wasn't the one. This wasn't on my list. Well, it was. It was.
Is it the other one?
The other one. This was on my list, but I bypassed it earlier. This was at the top of my list, and I don't know why I skipped over it. But because I totally agree with you. I think there's something about watching that movie and then even going through the queue for Toy Story Mania when you're, when you walk through that into that queue. You're shrunk down to the size of a toy, and you're walking through the games and the Barrel of Monkeys and the tin toy book, and they don't have the Mr. Potato Head Barker there now, but hopefully, from what I understand, when Toy Story Land opens, he'll be back.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they took him out when they were redoing the queue, and from what I've heard, I don't know if he'll be outside or if he'll be in the queue again. Because, of course, right now you can't get fast passes for Toy Story Mania because they're rerouting the queue. To the whole entrances of that attraction is going to be different because it's going to be right in the middle of Pixar Land. Now I'm saying it wrong.
Sorry, I messed you up. That was me. My bad.
Toy Story Land. But just walking through that queue and being shrunk to the size of a toy, and then going into Andy's room and seeing the bed and, everything above your head. And I love that. And I think in order to kind of really, really appreciate it, you do have to kind of watch the movie to kind of get that feel. I love that. And yeah, and they have the meet and greet there, and they're going to have Woody's Lunchbox, still the new restaurant and the roller coaster. And yeah, I agree. It's one that you, especially if you're going in, this summer, June and later, you have to watch that before you go. Toy Story Land opening June 30th officially in Hollywood Studios. Yeah. Again, it's not, this isn't, anyway, we should do you want to do, I think we know the last one we're talking about. So
you go ahead. You wrap us up.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to take it a little differently really quickly. And then we can both wrap it up. Wouldn't it be really funny if we're not talking about the same movies?
I think I'm a little worried that maybe we're not.
No, it'll make for a good end of the show.
And one more.
So I wanted to mention that, one thing that, and it isn't movies, it's TV shows, but I think it's fun to go back and watch all of those 90s ABC shows that went to Walt Disney World. Like Full House and Family Matters, Boy Meets World and Roseanne. And now the shows like Blackish did it last year. Modern Family did it a couple years ago with Disneyland.
It's Disneyland, yeah.
Yeah, I love that stuff. And it's
Toonton.
Yeah. You've been watching too much Downton Abbey.
Downton Disney. Mike and I, my husband and I, we always he asked me the other day because I was at Disney and he goes, "Did you go to Toonton?"
But that was a great episode. That was one of my favorite episodes of the show. And I stopped watching that show, I don't know, really close after that episode had aired because I just thought it's just not as good as it used to be. But I love that show. I used to love it, but I love that episode because I I love shows that kind of put like the fictional characters in like that real awesome place that I get to enjoy. So I don't know if that
Exactly.
makes
Yeah.
sense, but okay. So yeah, I wanted to mention them. All right, so the movie. It wasn't just one movie; it was several movies that I was talking about to close the show out. Is that what you were thinking, or is it one? movie?
I'm on board. Yeah.
Okay, so of course, I think you're talking about the Star Wars movies.
Yay!
Okay, good.
We are on the same page.
I was getting nervous
Did
then at
it,
the end. I was like, God, maybe. I was like, is she thinking about? I couldn't think of the other series you were thinking about. All right, so yeah, so Star Wars, of course, is like it or not. Everyone, I know there's a lot. It's a lot of people that don't love Star Wars being in the parks, but like it or
Really?
not, it's come. Yeah, there's a big like whenever I put a question out on like my Facebook page or I had it when I did my blog a lot more. I would write like a blog post about it, and people there's really there's a lot of total like critics of it who just don't want it. They don't want Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. They didn't want Launch Bay. They don't want the Star Wars Hotel. None of it. But for people like me and you, I am so excited. And
Yeah.
I did a whole episode about Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge last week with Chuck. And listen, there's no getting away from it now. It's going to be a huge part of Walt Disney World, a huge part of Disneyland, which is still weird to me, but I guess I'll get used to it.
I know.
And look at it, like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge coming in 2019. The Star Wars Resort, Star Tours, which again, who knows what's going to happen with Star Tours on both coasts when the land's open. Star Wars Launch Bay, where you meet Chewbacca, Kylo Ren, and BB-8. There's the stage show, the Stormtrooper March. I mean, I miss Star Wars weekends, but this is basically going to be Star Wars weekends every day, like
Yeah.
in the park.
Absolutely.
Like I'm so excited, and I know that like before we went on our last trip, we watched me and my kids watched The Force Awakens again, so they could sit like the little ones they get through about 40 minutes. They love Rey, they love Finn, and they're like, yeah, we're done. But Alexa watched the whole thing.
BB-8.
Yeah, like they like little parts. They'll come back to it. And like Jack likes Finn. Jack thinks Finn's awesome, and
He's the best.
whenever Jack sees a stormtrooper character or a mask, he's like, "Dad, is that Finn?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's Finn, buddy." Like I just have to tell him.
Oh.
Yes, he has a stormtrooper that he sleeps with that he calls Finn. He just keeps him in his bedroom.
Cute.
So I think if you're going to be going to Walt Disney World in now or for the next 20 years, you have to watch the movies before you go.
If you're ever going to go to Disney World, you need to watch this.
Yeah, you do. You
Yeah.
really do.
I mean, I was a little more specific. I said episodes 4 through 7. Mostly because I haven't seen 8. And
I know. I tried so hard to get you a copy, and I couldn't. I'm so sorry.
no, dude, it's totally fine. It'll be out soon.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, I think episodes 4 through 7, they're I don't know. I think that's just going to be the backbone of all the Star Wars stories from here on out. I'm not a huge fan of Rogue One. I'm definitely not a fan of the prequels, but it's enough, I think, in those 4 films to really get you pumped up and excited. And if you only can watch one, I would say Force Awakens is the one to watch, just because I have a feeling Galaxy's Edge is going to be more reflective of this newer universe that we're seeing, with all the beautiful landscapes that they're building in and all that. I have a feeling it's going to have more of that flavor than the originals, but obviously the originals are so good, so you should watch those too.
No, I agree. I think you're exactly right. It feels very much like the Force Awakens land almost. Like
Yeah.
Just looking at the concept art and looking at what we've seen, like, oh my God, last week when I saw the pictures of the Millennium Falcon getting brought into Disneyland, I was like, oh my God, I'm just getting so excited. Like I showed Amy and she's like, it's a tunnel. And I'm like, no, you don't know what this tunnel is. Look. And she's just like, whatever, dude. Like, you're a grown man and you have to work, right? Like you have children. But
You're supposed to support us.
yeah, like I'm so excited. Like I'm someone who will watch Star Wars if I'm flipping through the channels and any of them are on. I'm stuck until it's over. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Except no,
And you
you're
know
right.
every line, you know
Yeah.
every shot, basically.
Yeah,
like,
except for the prequels. You're right. I won't watch those. I don't.
no.
I think most Star Wars fans have written those off. They're like, all right, they happened. We don't own them. Like Amy got me the Blu-ray set a few years ago, and she was like, I remember it was for Christmas, and she was like, "Do you want like?" Because she asked me, she was like, "Do you want the prequels?" And I was like, "No, save yourself $50. Don't give me the prequels. Like, I'm not gonna watch those."
I did the same thing for Mike one year.
Yeah, you're like, you know, like why would you watch
Like,
them?
why would I buy those? I
Right.
know we're not going to ever watch those.
What's
Our
funny
daughter
is,
is not. I get so mad at the Blu-rays, like
I know with it's all the cleaned up, like the
CGI
know.
stuff. Like, I literally will sit there and be like, "That's not in the shot. That's not in the
No,
original
I
shot.
know.
That's
When you're
not the
watching-
original shot."
when you're watching this is not a Star Wars podcast, by the way. This is like so funny that you and I are both at this point. But like the one part when there's like so many scenes in the original in 4, 5, and 6 now that I see on the Blu-rays. You're right, and I'm like, like there's like this one part I remember. There's like I don't know, it was like a shot of Tatooine, and like a monster comes out of the sand and like has a long tongue and like eats something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what was
Is that
that?
the Sarlacc?
Is it that
Don't
what it
they
is?
like? Or are you talking about the thing that almost looks like a chameleon?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking
That
about.
shot, yeah. I think they also do something with the Sarlacc
Yeah,
pit
like jumping
in
out
the
of
first
the
one,
pit.
where
Yeah,
you're like, no, this
looks
is
like
later.
it looks like the monster from Little Shop of Horrors. It
Yes,
looks like the plant from Little Shop of
Audrey
Horrors.
too.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And you're like, that's not how that looked. Listen, the movies
Yeah.
were perfect as they were. I get it that they tried to bring them, you know, they wanted to release them to make money and get younger fans but listen, we were all going to make our kids fans anyway. You don't have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Anyway, for people
I really
like,
hope they do release the originals because right now I have my VHSs with the George Lucas, Leonard Malkin interviews at the beginning,
oh, that's cool.
and I'm gonna have to find a VCR because I am not showing the Blu-rays to my daughter as her first experience of Star Wars.
That's awesome.
Absolutely not.
That
It's
is
gonna be old school VHS.
Oh, I went Blu-ray with Alexa. We watched episode 4.
Did
on
you?
Blu-ray. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I had to. We watched it before our last trip, and we you know, it's a little like you forget it's a little intense. Like I know we look at it
Yeah.
now and we're like, you've seen it 100 times, but it was a little intense. She loved it, but it was a little intense. But you and I, we could talk Star Wars all day. I'm just
I
going to
know.
say, go watch the Star Wars movies. If you're like, get your kids into it because it's going to be a huge part of the parks. And Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, it's going to be incredible. And the resort is going to be amazing. I cannot wait. I don't even know. I just take my money now, Disney. Just take my money now. I'll pay it. I don't care. I want to stay at the resort. I want to experience it. I want to be a part of it. I do. So I'm ready.
Very cool. Yeah, there's so much that's coming that's centered around it, and I'm a little concerned about like the spin-off stuff, but the main through line of the series, I'm really excited about and seeing where that's going. So
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's
almost
worth it
think of them
to-
as completely different things.
oh yeah, definitely.
yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Like the solo. Like I'm like, I don't know. Like I like.
Yeah,
I
Solo, I didn't like Rogue One.
I did. I liked Rogue One. I didn't love it. I liked it though. I don't know what the original ending was supposed to be. I know that was like up for like a lot of people had issues with how it ended. I thought I liked the ending.
Yeah, that part didn't bother me.
All right, I won't even ask you. We'll talk
This is a
about that.
whole other. Well, we should do movies we hate, Disney movies we hate, and why.
That'll get a great. A lot of people tune in for that one.
I'm
No.
sure they'll be all about it.
All right, Lauren, we got to cut it off because I'll keep you here all day talking about Star Wars. But
I
thank
know,
you so
right?
much. This is always so much fun. And I was saying like we were like a half hour in, and I was like, we're not gonna have enough time to. It's gonna be a short episode, and then here we are, like an hour later, still talking about Star Wars. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for doing this and recording, and it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, my pleasure, and I'm always happy to come on and get Disney nerdy with you.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fun.
It is. And I know that our audiences aren't exactly the same audiences for what you do and what I do, but can you just tell everybody who's listening where they can kind of find you and what you do?
Thank you. I am a test prep gal. I help students get ready for the ACT and SAT with online courses. So if you have a student who is college bound, you can come on over to higherscorestestprep.com. And I also have a podcast about online entrepreneurship. It's called The Unsexy Side. So if you look it up in iTunes, I'm there.
And you're also the intro voice of the Ear to There podcast.
Yes.
Disney podcast, yes. So, because you work very cheaply, meaning you didn't charge me.
That's what happens when you have friends, you know?
It's true. It's true. All right, Lauren, thanks again. This is a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll have to do it again really soon.
Sounds good.
And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast. Thank you so much once again to my friend, to my co-host this week, Lauren Gaggioli. Thank you again, Lauren, for being on. It was a lot of fun. And we are Star Wars nerds, and we get a little carried away. But yes, everything Disney and Disneyland and Hollywood Studios always comes back to Star Wars and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Whether this was the first episode you listened to, or the 50th, or the 80th, or the 100th, whatever it was, thank you so much. I know, like the airlines say, you have many, many choices when listening to a podcast. So I am just honored and flattered and excited that you chose this one. So thank you. And just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of It's a Food World. That'll be each and every Wednesday morning. So until next time, thank you again so much for listening. Again, it's so greatly appreciated. You are awesome. Thank you. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.